Yeah, so continuing here about the insurance. Nobody likes paying for reckless drivers, but that's how I feel. Sometimes having to pay car insurance for a lifetime. As long as I'm driving a car, I've got to pay insurance. So I don't like that. Um, and let's see, the other points I wanted to make about smoking. About smoking, I don't recommend anybody pick up tobacco. Let me be clear about that. And secondhand smoke stinks, so I respect that people don't want to smell other people's smoke. I respect that. But I still think it's small potatoes compared to the big problem. I mean, yes, it's a form of escapism, it's an addiction, and it probably would dry up too as things get better, as I feel less stressed out by a world system in decline. Okay, so that's the way this whole thing has to be looked at. I mean, remember who gave us the tobacco. So if even if it's a sin, which I don't even believe it's a sin, and it certainly can't be illegal, uh, it's not immoral. I'm not trying to hurt my health. I want to live a long time. I expect to live 100 years. It's a good round number. My grandfather lived to be 72. My dad lived to be 86. So 14 plus 72 is 86. Another 14 plus 86 is 100. So that's how long I'm expecting to live as a smoker. But I'm not a heavy smoker. I'm not a chain smoker. And you've got to have self control. You've got to have some semblance of self control with anything, just like food. Food is not in and of itself bad, but if you've got eating disorders, well, yeah, that can be a big problem health wise. That could be a big problem, especially if it's junk food that you're eating. You do a lot of damage to your body, a lot more than a light smoker would do that doesn't have an eating disorder. So just keep that in mind when it comes to condemning smokers, that there's a lot of worse things people are imbibing and engaging in for their health. So, there's forms of escapism that are healthier than others, let's put it that way. And I'm certainly not recommending anybody pick up tobacco and become a smoker. But I thank God for creating tobacco. That's where I'm at right now. And I have issues. I'm a sinner, just like everybody. I struggle with this issue or that issue, just like everybody else out there. And like it's written, is that in all things give thanks to God. Okay, and that includes the issues that we struggle with, that we know are not necessarily bad, but because of corruption that has overcome humanity through the original sin, the fall of man, the knowledge of good and evil, we've got all this schizophrenic kind of thing going on in our psyche, this battle that we have going on between the flesh, the carnal nature, the worldly. A lot of people don't think of the carnal nature being the worldly nature. That's the love of money is in there. That battle there versus the spirit, what your spiritual nature wants, your godly nature wants, what your soul wants, your conscience, your integrity, your honor, your character. What it wants is to be more like God, to be more holy, more divine, those spiritual things. So, yes, we do have a battle waging in our own members, and it shouldn't be like that, but God knows it is. So, we need His mercy and forgiveness and grace, and we have to give it to ourselves and give it to others, and just be grateful to God, okay, that He gave us the pleasures that we have, even those, even if sin, it brings you some kind of pleasure. Remember who to thank if your addiction is gambling and poker and you love that passion of the game. Well, remember where you got that enjoyment. God's playing a game with Satan to a degree, right? He's letting Satan do a lot of things. So I can understand that. I've never been a gambler. I've never had that addiction. But I can understand people that do. But even that you can give thanks to God for. So if your weakness is women or your weakness is men, I mean, God understands He created the man for the woman. So if you're a woman that's a nymphomaniac, I mean, that's not good. That's a sin. And you're going to get venereal diseases and have all these problems, maybe unwanted pregnancies and all this. But God understands why you love men because He made you to love men. And the same for men. Man, He understands why you got an issue with the lust because He created you. The woman is perfect specifications for you. The same with the foods people enjoy. So it has a good root. So this is why we can give thanks to God in all things. Even a good, noble war, let's say. What, war? Yes, even that. Kicking Hitler's butt. I mean, God made man a warrior. We're made to kick butt when it's a righteous cause, but don't get us involved in these dubious wars where we got 22 guys a day coming home and taking their own lives. That's BS, man. That's not in any way, shape, or form acceptable. None of this is. So, this whole sin and the it's very convoluted issue. The battle we have waging with our own members, and then having to confront these evil people that are ruling our lives, and they've disempowered us through ignorance and confusion, and just muddying and bloodying the waters to such a degree that really it's only the hand of God that's going to help us out of this thing, that's going to sort us out. And it's going to be working, yes, through human beings. Like Michael Savage said, I'll agree with him that far. But don't forget, it's always the hand of God working through humans that's going to turn this thing around, that's going to extricate us from this mess, that's going to cause the worm to turn, to whereby we start binding the wound on the collective body of humanity where it's logical. That is where it's hemorrhaging. And this is the extremely poor. We have to put a permanent end to this. And we got to see it getting better and better, raising our standard of living. All around the world, there's no need for anybody in the whole world to be poor anymore. I'm talking matter of fact. I'm talking math and science, logic and reason, all these things. Nobody in the whole world needs to go hungry or without clean water or without housing. Nobody anywhere. This is all Satan's lie, ploy. This is his scheme. This is where he gets his pseudo-reverence. And this is what we're all mired in. We're all stuck here in this crap hole. And I want out, for one. And I know the only way out is with my fellow human beings. I've got to do what I can, at least to be on record, even if I'm talking to the wind and nobody's listening to me out there. Then I still got to do it. I've still got to do what I've got to do, what I feel compelled to do, what I feel commissioned to do for my fellow human being. How to be his friend and to win more friends for him by saying, you're a good God, the good news, bringing people the good news of the Bible. That's what it's called, this gospel. The good news, the scriptures, that, this is a promise God makes that you get to live forever in paradise if you just have a pure heart. If you're just clean, your hands are clean, your heart and your mind, your spirit is clean, you're ready for his will to be done. You pray earnestly for his will to be accomplished on earth, and you're anxiously and patiently at the same time awaiting the return of Jesus, and for the light of truth to take over this world and be ruling over our lives, for all of us to be set free, to be happy, completely happy and content, all of us, all of our children and grandchildren to come, everybody, until God says the earth is populated to my satisfaction now that you're living forever. So you're not going to be born anymore. Maybe there's other planets we could go inhabit. Whatever the deal is, this is about eternity. We're a part of a cosmic, eternal tapestry. That's the promise. That's the good news. That there is no death, that we are all actually free in that sense. We're free from death if you believe in the promises of God. What Jesus Christ did by dying and being resurrected on the cross, that same promise is for us, that we will be resurrected, and the good-hearted ones will get to live forever in paradise. And this earth is going to be made a paradise. But it's not for the money lovers. They get to go somewhere else. If you're not ready to just say, I get it, I'm ready to lay all my cards on the table, let the chips fall where they will, let God's will be done, and that's it. We got to wean ourselves off the junk, this false God. Wean ourselves off Satan. Yeah, Roger Stone was apparently the target of an assassination attempt. He was T-boned, and he's very sure because the guy backed up and ran away because of this probe. They're trying to associate Stone with Russia, and he's not, according to him, and I trust and believe him. That Stone wasn't, and the idea that Donald Trump wasn't tapped, for crying out loud, this whole privacy thing, I get that. I totally get how people are offended. It's the violation of the Fourth Amendment to be secure in your papers in effect. And your computer, what you do on the internet and what you have on your computer is nobody's business but your own, according to the Constitution. Okay, nobody has a right to be prying into it. I've got good virus software, so I'm reasonably certain that I'm secure. But I think they can still file me. In fact, I've given YouTube permission where it says, can YouTube have access to your microphone? Believe it or not, I've given access because if I had guests over, which I don't really have an acceptable place to have guests, so I generally don't. When I'm with people, I'm usually somewhere else. So I do respect anybody else's voice. If they don't want it being recorded, that's fine. But if I'm okay with my voice being recorded, that could work to my benefit. Because when I'm alone, I'm not saying anything that in fact, I want everyone to hear. When I'm outraged at some fake news media report, and I say, well, I'm pointing out where they're lying here, how they're deceiving people by omitting this fact or that fact and slanting and twisting it. But I understand I'm not condemning the reporters. They need a paycheck. They don't want to be living under the bridge either. So I see why they sell their conscience and their integrity, their honor and their soul and their reputation, because they need a buck. The almighty buck, right? It talks loud, right? So I forgive the reporters. But I get angry, and I have been known to yell at the television. So I'm almost glad Google picks that up. National security sees what's setting triggering this guy. He doesn't like being lied to. I don't like being treated like a mushroom and kept in the dark. No, I don't. Like fed crap. Okay? 9/11, I want to know about that. I want the mainstream media to talk about the truth about Bill Clinton and Glass-Steagall Act and point why that was so bad. How it's such a lie to believe high housing costs are good. That's maddening to me. This is what the mainstream media puts this crap out. They're a big part, a big cog in the wheel of manipulating the housing market. Remember, and it all just one area affects everything through this chain reaction. Raises your cost of services and other goods. Okay, understand, that's all it needed. He's the biggest quisling this nation ever saw, the biggest traitor this nation. It was Bill Clinton. Do I hear that coming from the mainstream media? No, I don't. But they need to. It's coming from the alternative media. They talk about how this was so bad that he let this happen. It just became Wild West in the banking industry, able to dump all this money. They socialized the debt. They privatized the profits. They knew damn well they were going to blow the pipes out of the economy, create all these foreclosures, losing the middle class, creating poverty. They knew that this is the effect it would have. And they did it I find that absolutely reprehensible, absolutely unnerving, insufferable, untenable. And yet that's the reality that's shoved down my throats. I got to pay the high taxes, that high cost of living, right, like everybody else, right? I mean, my own particular situation, that's another story. I don't have to deal with that at all. I've got a very low cost of living. I feel very lucky. But like I stated last week, I wish I was the least lucky guy in the whole world. But I've got a very low cost of living. I've got very low taxes. I'm about as free as any guy could ever get in this world anymore. Really, I mean that. But I wish everybody had it better than me. You see, if there was just two lines, one line was definitely to hell. You're definitely on the wrong track over here, I believe. But all these other guys, we see things a little different here and there, but we're all in one line. I want to be with those guys, and I don't mind. I'm happy to be the last guy in that line to true happiness, to true freedom. You see, that's what I'm trying to convey here when I say I wish I was the least lucky guy in the world. I don't want to feel lucky. I'm grateful to God for everything I have, for every good thing in my life. Very grateful. And that's never going to change. Even if the whole world was endowed better than me and blessed better than me in every way. You see, that doesn't change. But I don't want to feel lucky in the sense of, because by default, that means others are unlucky. I don't want anybody to be unlucky. Do you get my point? If somebody is a righteous person, okay, if they're just a nice guy, a nice gal, I want them to be blessed to the hilt. I want them prosperous. I want them free. I want them happy. And I don't mind that they go ahead of me. In fact, I actually prefer that. Ladies first and all that. Other people first, right? That's the guy I want to be. And wild horses couldn't drag me away from that guy no matter what. It's just who I am. But I want this ship to turn. I want the worm to turn for the least of men. Okay, I want to bind the wound where it's logical, where it's hemorrhaging. Do you understand? That's who I am. That's who I choose to be. Even though I know I've got the smarts to be phenomenally wealthy. I know I do. I've no doubt about it. I don't need to prove it to anybody. I don't need to prove it to God. I just need to be a part of turning this ship around, man. Just fighting the good fight and helping to enlighten other people about what that means exactly and what you're looking for when the ship started to turn. Okay, but it's going to turn. It's going to turn, and it's going to happen with or without me or anybody else out there fighting this good fight. It's coming, and by the hand of God. So no matter if the evil people killed all the decent people they think left on the face of the earth, still God's going to raise up decent people out of the dust to fight the good fight until the finish, until he overtakes the earth, until he reclaims it as his own, and he's ruling on the earth. So it's coming. One way or another, sooner or later, God's will is going to be done on earth as it is in heaven. And believe me, Satan has no rule, no place in heaven.